Think about it. Every single time you hop on a network, you're basically opening a door. You're sending messages, you're logging into your accounts, you're moving files around, all with this implicit trust that your conversation is private. But what if it isn't? What if someone has quietly slipped into the middle of that conversation and they're listening to every single word? So let's really dive into that question, because the answer, unsettling as it is that it's a very real possibility. And look, we're not just talking about some shadowy hacker in a basement halfway across the world. This threat could be sitting right next to you at the coffee shop on the very same Wi-Fi network. What we're talking about are man-in-the-middle attacks. So let's paint a picture here. The absolute best way to get your head around this is to imagine a digital eavesdropper, a malicious actor who just sits silently right between you and whatever service you're trying to connect to. You know, the idea itself is actually deceptively simple, and this definition nails it. The easiest analogy? Think of it like having a rogue postal worker. You send a letter, but before it gets to its destination, they intercept it. They open it, they read it, maybe they even change a few words, and then they seal it back up and send it on its way. The crazy part is, neither you nor the person you sent it to has any idea it's been tampered with. In our world, that mail is your data. Okay, so what exactly can this digital eavesdropper get up to? Well, a lot. First, they can just intercept your data, literally snatching your login details or private messages right out of the air as you type them. Or they can get more devious and actually alter it. Imagine you're making a bank transfer and they just change the destination account number. And finally, they can inject their own malicious code, turning what looks like a totally legitimate website or download into a delivery system for malware. So, how do they actually pull this off? I mean, it's not magic, right? It's technology. Let's pop open the attacker's toolkit and take a look at a couple of their favorite tools. All right, first up, we've got something called ARP poisoning. Now, this one is a huge threat on local networks. Seriously, think about the public Wi-Fi at the airport, your hotel, your favorite coffee shop. That's its hunting ground. At its core, it's a nasty little trick that fools your device into sending all its traffic to the attacker instead of to the real router. And here's how it works in a nutshell. Your laptop, trying to be helpful, basically broadcasts the question to everyone on the network. Hey, can anyone tell me who the router is? Normally, the router politely responds. But in an ARP poisoning attack, the attacker's computer is programmed to shout back faster and louder than anyone else. I am the router. And your device, well, it doesn't know any better. It just believes the lie and starts sending everything, all your internet traffic, directly to the attacker. Okay, tool number 2 in the attacker's bag of tricks is DNS spoofing. Just think of the internet's domain name system, or DNS, as a massive address book. You type in a friendly name like mybank.com, and the DNS looks up the real numerical IP address to connect you. DNS spoofing is what happens when an attacker manages to scribble in that address book. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the real address book. Mybank.com points to a legitimate server. But look at the attacker's fake address book on the right. You still type in mybank.com, but that poisoned address book sends you to a completely different server, one the attacker controls. And the scariest part? The fake site probably looks identical to the real one. You type in your login, and game over. They've got your credentials. Okay, I know, that all sounds pretty terrifying. But here's the good news. We are not defenseless, not by a long shot. We can absolutely build a digital fortress to protect ourselves and our communications. And the absolute cornerstone of that fortress? It's encryption. As a security firm, Validata puts it so well, it's one of the single most effective things we can do. Because think about it, if an attacker intercepts your data, but they can't actually read it, well, then it's basically worthless to them. And this is where something called TLS comes into play. You've seen this every single day. It's the S in HTTPS that puts that little padlock icon up in your browser's address bar. What TLS does is it completely scrambles the data flowing between you and the server. So even if our digital eavesdropper intercepts your mail, all they're going to see is a jumbled, unreadable cryptographic mess. So what about on Wi-Fi itself? Well, for years, WPA2 was our go-to standard, but it's gotten a little long in the tooth and has some known vulnerabilities. The modern defense is WPA3. Its key improvement is this really clever protocol called Simultaneous Authentication of Equals, or SAE. Now, in simple terms, what it does is create this unique, secure handshake just between your device and the router every single time you connect. It makes it incredibly difficult for anyone else on the network to even get a peek at that handshake, which means they can't try to guess your password. All right, now let's zoom out for a second, Because protecting against these attacks isn't just about using one tool or one protocol. It's really about embracing a bigger, broader philosophy of security. And a crucial piece of that philosophy comes down to this number: 100%. See, while we've been focused on external threats, like someone at a coffee shop, the game changes when you look inside a network. According to stats from Cisco, enterprises are considered 100% vulnerable to internal attacks. And that's a staggering figure that forces us to rethink everything. What this really means is the threat isn't just some anonymous attacker on the other side of the planet. It could be a compromised laptop, a hacked smart fridge, or even a malicious insider who's already on your local network. A simple firewall at the very edge of your network just isn't going to cut it. And that's exactly why security professionals talk all the time about defense in depth, which this model illustrates beautifully. Now, don't worry about all the technical terms here. Just picture it as a stack, like floors in a building. At the very bottom, you've got the physical wires. In the middle, you've got how data gets routed around. And way up at the top, you have the actual app you're using, like your web browser. The big idea is that it's not about building one giant wall. It's about putting strong locks on the door of every single floor. So now let's tie this all back together. An attack like that ARP spoofing we talked about, that happens way down at a low level, the data layer. But if you have strong encryption like TLS working at a much higher layer, the attacker might be able to intercept your data, but they won't be able to read a single bit of it. The attack is stopped in its tracks. You see? Each layer is there to reinforce the others. That is the core idea of defense in depth. And so we'll end on this one big question. As everything from our cars to our toasters to our thermostats gets connected to the internet, the number of potential middles for an attacker to get into is just exploding. It forces us to think really critically about the security of our devices, our networks, and ultimately who or what we're willing to trust in this increasingly connected digital world.